Hi and welcome to my channel. As you can see by the title of this video, I'm talking about the Venus retrograde phase that's about to happen. As I'm recording this, she's already in her pre-shadow. So before I get straight into the video, I want to do the disclaimer of always seek professional advice first and foremost, whether it's legal, financial, or medical or anything else before you take the information from my video or anyone else's video, wherever you watch. Um, yeah. So that's just, I wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so you can see here, like I do with most of the videos on the community tab for my subscribers, I show the two different systems. See, this is, I probably should get the pen going here. So this is the tropical system. And tropical goes by the seasons. And that's why it's also in neat 30 degrees sections. So it doesn't take notice of the actual placements in terms of how big each constellation is. However, this guy does. True Sidereal does, and that's why you see there's all different sizes, like Pisces and Virgo are huge, and Taurus isn't much smaller than either of them. And it includes a Fucus, 13th sign. So yeah, so there's the difference there, which I feel that to help people follow along with whichever they want to go with. But I will be speaking a bit about the true sidereal signs instead of the tropical, because they can often be very different. Because as I said, this is actual placements according to the constellation sizes. Yeah, so this is also to show you what placements are in the tropical system, so that you can see the differences, and you can kind of follow along, say, with the houses and everything, that you could work out, a similarity, if that makes sense. Yeah, so anyway, let's get going. What else? I think that's pretty much the intro. Excuse me, I'll take a sip of my tea. Okay. So, yeah, when I did it 2 years ago, it ended up being like over 3 hours, but I know it's not gonna be that long, don't worry. Well, you would see anyway by the timing on the video, but yeah, because I was also including separate signs in that, but I'm going to put down below a little guide of where it will be hitting for each rising sign, and that will be according to True Sidereal. So again, pull it back one sign really if you're going by tropical, because see how here, as you can see, Venus here is stationed retrograde in Aries, but over here she's in Pisces. So again, let's pull back one side. Usually it pulls back one side. Sometimes it can be back two sides. It really depends on where everything's hitting at the time. But yeah, so STR, stationing retrograde. And as you can see, that little pink SRX. Yeah, so this is exactly when she's stationing retrograde, right before she starts retrograde. Yeah, so she's in Pisces. Okay, so or she will be. Yeah, I'm just fiddling around with the what do you call it? The pencil and all that. Yes, so I've made some notes here, so I'm going to try and read off my notes as well. Yeah, so she's in the sign of Pisces. She's going to be retrograding from, as you can see, the 1st of March. And that's the actual time. This is according to where I'm situated. That was in the way. Yeah, that's where I am. So yeah, so that's according to where I'm situated, and it'll be different for different places, but it'll be the same sign, depending on what system you're using. As I said, tropical will be saying Aries, but the true placement will actually be Pisces. So she goes from the 1st of March at 10:36 on Sydney time. So it'll be something or other 36 wherever you're from, all over the world. So the basic things about Pisces are things like, covers things like spheres, spirituality, withdrawal, like hermiting, beauty, art, music, self-undoing, dreams, self-undoing as in self-sabotage and all that sort of thing too. So those sort of themes will be prominent within the retrograde phase. And since Venus is the ruling planet of two signs, both Taurus and Libra, those themes obviously will be covered as well during the retrograde. So it'll be a mix of the Taurus Libra themes as well as Pisces, because she'll be covering Pisces. Okay, so another point here is that can happen is often people who've already got Venus retrograde in their birth chart may find it easier to go through this phase than the rest of us who perhaps have it direct, you know. So again, you look to your chart to see if you've got Venus retrograde at the time you were born, or if she was direct. So then we've got here as well, another point is where situations, memories like memory recall, all that sort of thing, or people from the past can reappear. And this is where I say, like with what happens in Mercury retrograde, where exes can come back into on the scene, or again, like I said, memories and memory recall, where it's coming into your mind. You're remembering certain things about exes or whatever. Now, that with Mercury retrograde, it's likely that it's hitting your 7th house when that happens, or it's aspecting heavily in some way your 7th house or Libra, you know. Either way, it could have a sort of a square to Libra or something like that, or an opposition. That sort of thing can happen. It also might have some sort of, well, it probably would have some sort of connection with that ex's chart as well. And if you were to see both charts, you'd probably see where the harder aspects connect that way. Okay, so in any case, if things like that do come up, because this is again, I'm sort of, I have notes, but I'm still sort of ad-libbing here. Where I've said before, where this sort of thing can happen with Mercury retrograde. Yeah, so this is also something that can happen with Venus, because Venus is also about relationships, among other things. But yeah, so this can be because with the coming back, or the memory, recalling the memories, or the actual people coming back into your into your space. This can be because they either it either needs to be dealt with to close out that cycle from a previous Venus retrograde, or to show you how far you've come since then and what you're no longer willing to put up with. And the other thing that could be the case with, if something like that does occur, is that it could be giving something or someone another chance. And that's only as long as there wasn't any bad or difficult circumstances or treatment the previous time. That there was just some sort of situation, or, that was not terrible, not abusive or whatever, where it was just, it wasn't the right time or whatever. There was just something that stopped the coming together of said something or someone, whatever the case is. So again, if you're feeling negative in any way, like you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that person ever again, then it's clearly likely not ideal to try again. Or the situation, whether it's a situation in I don't know, a business partnership or something like that, and you're wary about, again, if there were bad vibes the first time, then you really don't want to jump back into something like that again. But if it was just that you're sort of a bit, will it work, won't it work, then that's different, But again, use your discernment, obviously. But if there was anything negative or bad, then it's likely telling you, like I said a little earlier, that it's something to be closed out, because it shows you how far you've come and what you're not willing to put up with anymore. So yeah, so that's the idea behind that. Okay, so now we're going to move into the pre-shadow that we're in now. We're going to be talking about that now. Sorry about the throat thing. I don't know how loud it is with the headphone microphone thing. I don't have a proper microphone, so it's sort of like right at my face. So if it's too loud, I apologize, but it's the best I can do. It's the only setup I've got. So yeah, so Venus's pre-shadow and her move into retrograde phase. Here we go from, well, the pre-shadow, clearly, if she's just about to move into retrograde, like with these charts here, when I've got my software, I click the next second and it's turning to RX, which is retrograde. So this is right when she's about to hit retrograde on the 1st of March. So technically she's been in pre-shadow since at least 1st of February. As I said, as I'm recording this, she's already in pre-shadow. So with the pre-shadow, what am I going to say first? Because I'm trying to read my notes, but sometimes I'm sort of got a little bit of scroll, so I want to sort of be able to read it properly and thoroughly. So anyway, pre-shadow. This is when Venus will be getting prepared for her retrograde. So we will be starting to see and feel these themes prior to and including the retrograde phase. It's where situations may begin to occur that ask us to, and here we go with the same as Mercury retrograde, review, reconsider, reassess, realign, etc. Pretty much re. Oh, by the way, I might just keep this up here so you guys can see. Yeah, because I got rid of it and then I realized I probably should have kept it up. So tropical will be saying it's Aries, and True Sidereal, it's Pisces. Okay, so so yeah, this will be similar to Mercury retrograde and essentially any planet that goes through their retrograde phases. So it really is. It's like put a re in front of everything with regards to those themes with whatever particular planet is going retrograde at the time. And obviously we're talking about Venus right now. Venus covers such topics as what we value, whether that's physical, self-worth, also material like property, and also all things relating to the other involving relationships and perhaps also legal situations. That's where I was also saying about the disclaimer of that sort of thing, because some bits and pieces of alluding to that might come up a bit further in the video. So with this Venus retrograde, this one will also be coloured by the themes of Pisces. So where we may be needing to inject some peacefulness and go with the flow, or conversely balancing out having too much easygoing mentality. Also where or if there may be addictions of any sort and any self-sabotage in our lives, and working on ways to break those and other forms of sabotage by others or self, because sometimes others can sabotage us if we're not sort of being aware of it, if that makes sense, like, letting someone do something, but it sabotages us kind of thing, or, or putting up with someone else's behavior in some way. Oh, gee. Anyway, we're going to keep going. I'm sorry if it's loud when I do the throat thing, but yeah. Anyway, so just as Mercury pushes us to take another look at things or situations in our life where we need to make changes, adjustments, and so on, so too does Venus retrograde. Again, like Mercury retrograde, as I said before, put a re in front of practically everything where we can. And this is how we'll be working with the retrograde energies in the best possible way for us. How we can start to do this is by, and again, coming back to the reassessing, recognizing, revamping, replacing, re-relating, like the Libran part, for instance. Some possible scenarios, situations, or topics that could show up to be dealt with during this time are included next, because I'll be reading up on those next. And I've put them into kind of a question form in terms of putting the question to ourselves, asking ourselves a certain question, if this is a certain thing that we need to look into or whatever, if that makes sense. So it will probably make more sense when I start reading that section. Yeah, so I'll be putting it into question form so we can ask ourselves these questions and work through what we each may need during this Venus retrograde phase. These are examples to help each person identify their own personal situation, because it might not be exactly what I'm saying, but it'll give you an idea to then go, okay, how would it be playing out for myself, kind of thing, So now I'm going to read up a couple of bits and pieces. We're going to start first with the Venus herself, the energies there of Taurus and Libra, and then we're going to move into Pisces themes. Here we go again. Sorry if that's loud. I really hope it's not, but I can't really do much about it. I want to get this done because I've been wanting to do this for ages. So yeah, I don't want to put it off anymore. Anyway, so some possible topics during this Venus retrograde in Pisces could be, as I said, I've kind of put it in question forms with it, where I've tried to sort of give a few ideas of what might come up, sort of things that might come up. So we're looking at Taurus themes first. So again, in question form, are we placing too much importance on items, property, or financial assets? And maybe the beauty or the art sort of thing, the Piscean themes. Or are we neglecting the assets we own? Are there home repairs needing to be done that would benefit ourselves and others? And maybe putting in a sort of Pisces Neptunian theme of some sort, dreaminess or art, beauty. Are we, another thing here is, are we caring for our body, teeth and bones especially? Do we need to get a checkup from our dentist or medical practitioner? See how the disclaimer of the seek the legal advice kind of thing. And this sort of thing can come up because it's, Taurus and Libra themes of Venus. How is our self-worth? Because Taurus, what we value and our self-worth. How is our self-worth? Are we caring for our emotional, mental, and spiritual health? And again, here comes the medical practitioner idea, the medical professionals. What are we feeding not just our bodies, but our souls? You know, the Piscean, you know, getting into our soul, such as social media, news, TV viewing. Are we feeding, you know, our souls with nutritious things or negative things, you know? Because that's what the retrograde is asking us to take a look at so that we can improve our lives and have a better quality of life, because, you know, that's the whole point, so that we can have a better experience with our life, so we can enjoy our life better. That's the whole idea of the retrogrades and the eclipses. Do we take time to acknowledge and care for our inner child and their needs? That's another thing, see, with the self-worth, it ties in that way. And with dreaminess of Pisces, you know, children have no problem with, you know, fantasizing and dreaming about, you know, their their day-to-day activities, I want to say, but I don't really mean that. Like, for instance, what they want to be when they grow up, and they've got all these, you know, exciting ideas, and or they you know, want to catch frogs or chase butterflies or whatever, the, you know, the inner child. And I think that, you know, pulling into the Piscean energies of the dreaminess is a very important part of what we can do to work with that. You know, not always be the serious adult with paying the bills and, you know, working 9 to 5, 7 days a week or whatever, you know, because that's why we need to do inner child work, because we forget about, you know, looking after ourselves often that way. And another point now is, what is our relationship with money like? That's another Taurian theme. Do we overspend and struggle to save and have just enough to pay our bills? Or do we have trouble covering bills, robbing Peter to pay Paul due to our spending habits negatively impacting our ability to save money? It's kind of, they're both similar. I've got there, but anyway, I think you get the idea. Hopefully it's making sense. I really do. Or conversely, do we hoard our money, saving for a rainy day that never happens, instead of sharing our wealth with those we care about? Because, especially because Pisces is a water element, the water theme, and money is an energy, a cash flow, you know, putting money in the bank, you know, river bank, and, you know, making it rain with money. Kind of, if you think about all the analogies that people talk about money in general, it's generally water analogies, you know, and it's, you know, so it's a go with the flow kind of thing, allowing that flow of money to go out and come back in, knowing it will come back in, rather than fearing losing it. That's, you know, and holding on to it and hoarding it, instead of, you know, having the energy flow, if that makes sense. So that, you know, you can share we can share our wealth with those we care about, including ourselves, obviously. And as well, how might we find a balance with our view to spending and saving money? Do we need to review and revise our habits and or what we're spending our money on? Because again, with Pisces, there can be addictions, and addictions aren't just about substances. They can be a certain way we do something that we've sort of, how do I put it? We're addicted to doing it a certain way without realizing, you know. Can we introduce budget strategies or create a budgeting plan that we can actually stick to, you know? So there is the idea of fixing things up, because the whole point of if there is an issue that way, well, you want to fix that up so that it then frees space for you to enjoy life in some other area, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, not fixing certain things and ignoring it is going to take up time by ignoring it, because things will get, can get worse when we avoid dealing with it. And also, even just the idea of it being a stress, that we don't need to keep going with it that way, if that makes sense. If we sort of look into it and go, okay, what can we do to make this easier so it frees up time that we can spend on things we actually enjoy, that sort of thing. So the next one is Libra. So again, with the question like form kind of thing that I've done, is there a legal situation? Again, disclaimer, like I said at the start, where seek professional advice. Is there a legal situation that calls for us to be compassionate and or mutually compromise for the benefit of both parties, meeting in the middle for a win-win outcome, the Libra side of things? Or is there a legal situation where we haven't voiced our own needs within the situation? Because Pisces often is a bit sort of, they want to be peaceful and they don't always stand up for themselves. It's no shade. I've got a lot of Pisces in my chart. Are we speaking up and standing up for ourselves and our needs, or the needs of others, for the best possible solution outcome? And again, as I've said here, again, I can't stress highly enough, always be sure to seek professional advice before making any legal decision. Okay, and another point here, how are our romantic situations or relationships? I said situations, it wasn't written here. I just said wrote relationships, so that might be a thing, romantic situations. Anyway, so again, it's a Libra theme. Is there a dynamic that needs to end or be reassessed? Are we getting our needs met physically and emotionally? Are we giving enough of ourselves in a healthy, loving way? Are we standing up for our own needs or showing up for others where it's needed? So there's all these questions that we can put to ourselves in certain situations that, this might resonate with you. If we're single, do we have a pattern of what's that? Oh, if we're single, do we have a pattern of dating people who do not respect us? This could also be friendships as well, I think. Not dating friendships, but like, whether we're dating people or just making friends. If we're single, do we have a pattern of dating people who do not respect us? Are we settling for self-centered partners where we feel neglected? Do we recognize our red flags within these situations, or the red flags within these situations? Because Venus, brings that up as well, which is why often the exes come back and kind of we feel like it's throwing in our face, but really it's have you dealt with it? If not, then do something about it. Or it's in our face because it's saying, look how far you've come and you're not going to put up with that ever again, Okay, so this can also be considered for business partnerships and friendships, for instance, that may be one-sided. Have we been following a pattern of neglecting our own needs and forming non-authentic friendships, partnerships, where we end up being used or our kindness being taken advantage of by the fair-weathered so-called friend partner? And, because I've been also in situations where in the past I didn't realize I was trauma bonding, for instance, and then once I was in deep, I was like, oh, what do I do? And then people who fake and gaslight, I've had it happen. And the thing is, I've heard there's a reader, at least one reader anyway, on YouTube, where she says trust patterns over promises, because that's where the red flags, the promises, and then you get gaslit and, the promises aren't fulfilled because they didn't mean it in the first place. So there's that sort of thing, especially with the Piscean energy getting hoodwinked by fair-weathered people who aren't being genuine, wearing masks and all that. I think that's a thing that's being shown up lately as well. Who are you when nobody's watching? There's a lot of people that wear masks. There's a difference between wearing a hat per se and, whether you're going to your work or being one way with friends and one way with family and all that, that's different. But wearing a mask and pretending that you're something else when you're not, that's different, when you're not being authentic and real. And this is where these retrogrades and eclipses, that's what they're moving us towards, being our authentic self so we can have a better quality of life. Yeah. So, yeah, or conversely, how are we treating others within romantic, platonic, or business relationships? Are we being fair, genuine, and generous? And is that also being reciprocated in a balanced way? Again, the Libra themes. So now that we've actually covered Venus herself, as in the Taurus Libra themes that come through, we're going to now move to the yeah, here we go. Because I've got pages all over the place. So yeah, we're moving into the Pisces themes. Okay, so because she's retrograding in Pisces, so we're jumping into the Pisces themes now. I'm going to also do some timestamps, and if I didn't already say it earlier, I'm going to put a little list, a basic list of where Venus will be hitting each rising sign. Yeah, I think I did say it, but I'll either put it in the pinned comment or it'll be in the description box. So let's jump into the Pisces themes now. And again, I've put it in like a question form so we can ask ourselves. And again, not everything's going to apply to each of you, but it's going to give you a bit of an idea to nudge yourself into finding out what it might be for you, what the situation, what work needs to be done in your situation, if that makes sense. So with the Pisces themes, where might we perhaps need to bring in a more easygoing, easy flow energy in certain situations? Or conversely, where might we be too complacent and not taking action on certain situations? See, the Pisces can be a little too easygoing because Jupiter also is the co-ruler of Pisces, and Jupiter is expansive. And if you think about Neptune, nebulous Neptune, because Neptune's also in Pisces at the moment, the expansiveness of being too easygoing, if that makes sense. Hang on a second. Sorry. Yeah, so yeah, conversely, where might we be too complacent and not taking action on certain situations? Is there an addiction we've ignored, because that's a Piscean thing, and not worked through? Or again, is there something we haven't allowed ourselves to indulge in? See, because Venus likes indulgence, which is the Taurus side of things. So is there something we haven't allowed ourselves to indulge in and have held ourselves back when it would actually be healthy and nurturing to allow a small indulgence if that isn't a vice and is in our best interests? So that's another take on it, which could also dovetail into the inner child, nurturing our inner child, by allowing ourselves to have some kind of indulgence that we normally would hold ourselves back from. If it's a healthy indulgence. Okay, so also then next, Have we given ourselves time to enjoy music or make some time for an artistic hobby or experience we would wholeheartedly enjoy to lift our spirits? Or at the other end of the spectrum, have we been too focused on our hobbies where either other things have taken a back seat, or that we've perhaps removed the joy of the hobby because our expectations about the end result have been far too high? So there's things like that, reassessing, taking a look at it to see how it can be a more enjoyable experience. Okay, next, have we been far too focused on spiritual topics to the detriment of other things or relationships? Or have we held ourselves back from looking into spiritual topics and perhaps not exploring possible psychic gifts we may have? Again, a Pisces theme. Have we been ignoring that simply because we may fear its power or doubt our own abilities? That's another thing, that can be a self-sabotage. Again, another Pisces theme. Have we allowed ourselves to either self-sabotage with some things or put up with others' poor treatment of us and therefore self-sabotage by default? Is it time for us to stand up for ourselves, whether within a relationship of any kind or within our own selves? Like how we treat and how we speak to ourselves, our own self-talk, such as in a dialogue. Okay, so that was the question forms of each of the themes. So now we move into the post-shadow phase of Venus retrograde. Take another sip. Okay. So, before we go into the, because I was so much looking at the notes that I forgot to move into this. So before we move into the post shadow, I'm going to just quickly mention, so I'll take these out of the equation because they'll be in the way with the next charts, because there's a bit of a side topic here as well, with in between Venus's retrograde, what's going to be happening there. So let's take a look there. Okay, so, Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde over here in tropical, they're saying he's going to be in Aries, but again, his true position is going to be in Pisces. So now we have both Mercury and Venus both retrograding in Pisces. So there's going to be a strong focus on communication, whether that's communicating with the other, with the Libran side of Venus, the Libra topics of Venus, or communicating financial things, the Taurus side of Venus. But in any case, there's going to be a massive, strong emphasis on the Piscean theme with both of them. And again, where it swapped it out, where it has, see how it's got the red RX right there, and this one says SRX. So again, with the actual software, if I clicked the next second, it would be RX. So this is exactly when Mercury turns retrograde on the 14th of March, smack bang in the middle of Venus's retrograde. So yeah, and as you can see, it's right at a full moon, right near a full moon as well. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. What I'm still going to say about that is because over here, we've got a square happening with Mercury retrograde and Mars. So Mars is in Gemini, and again, Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini and Virgo, and Pisces is wanting to slow down. I don't think Mars is in his post shadow after that point. Yeah, I think he might be out of post shadow by then. But yeah, the idea of, even though we're needing to take action, we've got to take it slow and easy, I think. You know, go with the flow is what Pisces likes to do. So trying to do things quickly is probably going to not be favorable, but still taking the action, if that makes sense. So still moving forward, but not racing forward. But there's going to be a lot of communication going on one way or the other in that sense. So this is when he stations retrograde. And then the next one is where he stations direct while Venus is still retrograde. Here, oops, that was terrible. Because it was a different angle, so I sort of got thrown off. The nodes are always in retrograde anyway, so you've got the node right in the middle of them. So yeah, so this is where Mercury's about to go direct again, 6th of April. But then he moves into his post shadow while Venus is still retrograde. So again, and now we have by that time, I keep turning it off. As you can see, that nasty link across from Pluto to the moon in Cancer, and the moon is in her favorite sign because she's the ruling planet of the Cancerian sign. And Pluto purging things and wanting to purge things, and especially in Capricorn, sidereal Capricorn. You know, it's the Capricorn themes and the details and ambition, career, you know, being ambitious and strong, and the opposite sign of Capricorn is Cancer, and we've got Mars right near the moon as well. So there's the taking action and, you know, the challenge, the opposition of trying to balance purging certain aspects of career, perhaps, or Capricornian themes, balancing that with the gentle Cancerian vibes, you know, and the moon being what we need to feel safe, and Mars is strengthening that and pushing that idea in terms of giving it more energy, if you want to say it like that. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, but that's just a bit of a side thing. But we've got a lot of trines, as you can see, and sextiles going on. So there's a lot of easy energies as well. It's just that moon phase is a little on the difficult side. But yeah, so that's going to be the case on that day when Mercury's stationing direct. Again, right in between Venus's retrograde phase. Yeah, so there's going to be the Mercurian themes, like I said, a lot of communication going on. Yeah, so it's but it's going to be communicating in a Piscean way, if that makes sense, because it's Mercury in Pisces. So it's sort of easy go, easy flow. Or again, it might be communicating your fears and what's anything sabotaging you, communicating to yourself or talking it through with others and that sort of thing, depending on how that hits for you. Yeah. Or it could just be the signing of documents, like communication in that sense. We're still looking at Venus with the Taurus money themes or the Libran relationship legal themes, again, consult professional advice first and foremost. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up as a side note, the fact that Mercury is going to be retrograding the whole in between, or not the whole time, but in between when Venus is retrograding. So the pre-shadow, the post-shadow, and the retrograde are going to all be in between Venus retrograde time frame. Okay, so now we move to station direct. So now we'll jump into the post-shadow. So we've got station direct, back to Venus. See the SD there. Again, she's still in Pisces here, and so is Mercury. That's a really, really terrible set. Let me do that again. Okay, so we'll just go like this, I think. Cover the whole thing. And we'll do the same here, so that you can find the tropical side of things. There we go. And see how tropical's now saying that she's now in Pisces. See what I mean? So it moves back into Pisces there anyway, but she's been in Pisces the whole time over here. So SD means, again, like I said earlier, when the little change in color is there, that means literally with my software, if I click it to the next minute, second, or whatever, it would change to direct. That would be gone because it'll show that she's direct, like the rest of them, that are in retrograde. Yeah, so, but that means she's moving into post shadow, and Mercury will already be in post shadow. That's why he's got nothing there anymore to show that there's any direct or retrograde going on. But yes, he'll be in post shadow, so the post shadow energy will still be running. So, long story short, let's jump into what to expect with the post shadow. What sort of things can this isn't a question form with this, because it was just with the both the Taurus, Libra, and Pisces themes, is sort of things that topics and things that could come up, possible things that could come up for different people according to your rising sign. Yeah, so the post shadow phase. So that's now 12th of April. It starts 12th of April, and probably I would say really till the 12th of May, around about. I'd give it about a month because Venus is much slower moving than Mercury. So yeah, so I'd say that the post shadow will start from 12th of April until 12th of May. So the energies would be, once her retro phase is done, the RX, now she's moved into SD, station direct. And once the retro phase is done, she moves into the station direct phase, which is when her post shadow begins. This is where we take note of what information came up for us during the pre-shadow and retrograde phases. If we haven't already made any decisions with situations, this isn't really the time for any major or drastic changes or decisions unless we absolutely have to. You can't really put a stop on absolutely everything. We can't always block everything because it's convenient for us. Life happens, and if we have to make a decision on something, if we've got no other way to hold it off, then so be it. So this is a time for reflection and, where possible, holding off from any choices or decisions until the post-shadow is truly over. Often we'll be able to tell if the post-shadow is completely over because there will be a different energy and focus in general. So, the Venus themes will sort of kind of peter off, or trail off. What's the word for it? It'll sort of dissipate. You can feel the different energies as they change, and the sign changes and all that sort of thing too. With this particular retrograde at this time might be a little sort of, well, not really tricky, but a little different to feel the change in the energies, because we also have Mercury in the post-shadow in Pisces. But the Piscean energies anyway, it's really probably less difficult than if there was some other planet retrograding in a different sign, because then there's sort of all different types of signs to try and navigate. So there might be a little bit of trickiness in terms of what Mercury's showing compared to what Venus is showing us. But yeah, Mercury's post-shadow starts, as I said, Mercury's in post-shadow by then, because we had the chart previous to this. What was it? 6th of April. So around about a week, nearly a week before she stations direct, Mercury stations direct. And so he'll still have a couple of weeks where he's still in post-shadow, and her post-shadow is only just starting. So that would take it to what? 2 weeks. I'd say around the 24th of April, his energies will dissipate if they hadn't before then, around about that date. But like I said, her energies will still be running. I believe till I estimate I estimate till 12th of May. So yeah, I think we've covered everything now. Hopefully this has all made sense, but yeah, I just wanted to try and give a good idea of what sort of things might come up, and what we can look forward to, or because there's a lot of good things we can look forward to, improvements in relationships, improvements in money, and having that Piscean gentleness, that the gentle Piscean themes coming along for the ride, to help us move forward. Yeah, so hopefully this has made sense. I don't know if I've missed anything. I really hope I haven't. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. And yeah, wish you guys all the best of luck. And I hope I've given a few examples enough for you guys to work out what it might be for you guys, how things might play out for you guys. But yeah, there's a lot of things that opportunities that can come up, Piscean themed opportunities, whether it's a new partner that might have more of an easygoing temperament, or moving away from someone who's too easygoing, or bringing some sort of watery themes or art into something, depending on where it's hitting in your chart, because it could be hitting your 10th house, it could be hitting your 6th house, your 4th house. your seventh or your second or whatever, it depends on your rising sign. Like I said, I'll put that in the description box, and I may put it in the pinned comment, but I think that I might also put the little list of where Venus will be hitting, which will actually also cover Mercury because they're both in Pisces anyway. For Pisces risers, it's going to be in your first house for starters anyway. And if you're Aries rising, I'm talking true sidereal. If you're having Aries rising, then the Pisces is going to be 12th house and so on. But yeah, I'll put the list in. I might put it in both the pinned comment and the description box. I'll see what I can do, but I'll also give timestamps. Well, you'll probably see that by the time I put this up anyway. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there and wish you guys all the best of luck with this Venus retrograde phase. And yeah, and moving through it in the best possible way for you and those you care about and the things you care about and what you value. Yeah, and that you get the best you can possibly get out of this phase, because we're not going to have it until another year and a half around about, because I think the next one's in 2026, late 2026, because she's around about nearly 2 years, or 18 months, I think, something like that, each retrograde phase. So yeah, I think the late 2026 is the next time. But yeah, anyway, so we've got her happening now. We've got her energies going right now. Like I said, as I'm recording this, she's already in her pre-shadow. So yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck with navigating this, and I hope that I've given some helpful information here that you guys can use. Yeah, and um, you know, ask me any questions if I haven't covered something you're not really sure. Ask me a question. I'll answer it in the comments. Um, yeah, and so I wish you guys all the best of luck with this Venus retrograde. And until next time, bye for now.